Okay, so I redid my street because I'm at school right now, and I wanted to be able to do this today in school. So I'm going to be wetting down the green, wetting down the blue, and wetting down the yellow. So you can't really see my tree very well because I did it very lightly, which is how your tree should be too. So I'm going to go into the green. I'm going to get a little bit of green and put it on the top of my case there. And then I'm going to go back and get some of that green to put on my tree. So one thing about painting trees, you want to know where your light source is coming from. So when we're outside, a light source is normally the sun. So you want to know where your sun is coming from so that you can paint it correctly. So I'm out of green right here. I'm going to get a little bit more. That's a little bit too much pigment, so I have to add some more water. And I'm going to go ahead and go on this side so that you could barely see the lightest. Oh, I did a little eraser. You could barely see the lightest pigment of green. Okay, so this is like a pastel green. When you add more water, it is a lighter color. That's just how watercolors work. So I want to make sure I have a good color on all of it. So if I'm going to pretend my sun is off to the right and probably that way. So this side is going to be in shadow. This side is going to be lighter. So I'm going to go ahead and get some pretty dark green. I could go up here, but I might not want to. I might want to just go like this. So my paper is already wet. This is called wet on wet. So it is blending in with the other part, the very light mint green that I have on there. And I'm going pretty far into the middle with this darker green. I have to get more. Let me wet it a little bit. Okay, that's pretty good. And the bottom is going to be more shaded than the top because it is shaded by other trees as well. So I'm going to get a little bit of water. I'm just washing my brush now, and I want to blend that middle part in with the rest. Blending it in with the rest. I might even want to go over the middle with that green, with that darker green color. Let me see. You can play around with this as much as you want. Yeah, I think I want to go a little darker with this into the middle. And now that's really watery in the middle, so it's blending. And that's good. It's all good. Ooh, that's really dark. Just playing around with the color. Now I want to put a little bit more water over here so it doesn't quite dry over here. I want it to be blended. So if I want a highlight, I might want to do that over here with a yellow. So this is a little bit of a muddy yellow. I want to see how it actually looks yellow. So I'm going to go ahead over here with that yellow color and go on the side where the sun is. So the sun is shining on that side. A lot of times when we are shading, we are using the color that is lighter on the color wheel or in our color palette. So this is set up like a rainbow. The color to the left is the yellow. Yellow is the lightest color. So if I was making something that was orange, I would also use yellow as a highlight color because it is the lightest color. I'm going to go ahead and wet this down over here so it blends. Now, I think that's pretty good. I might want a little bit more pigment over in the middle because the top is good. The bottom is pretty good. I want some more green pigment in that middle. Now things are going to happen with watercolor that you can't control, and that's a pretty cool thing about watercolor. So I am going to go into the blue now, and I'm just going to put a little dab of blue in there with lots of water. Okay, now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to drop some of that blue on there. This creates another kind of shadow. Now you can also do this by getting a darker green. So if I wanted a really dark green, I could go ahead and make that the darker shadow. But I think using a different color actually looks a lot better, a lot cooler. It's more interesting to your eyes. So I like using the blue. So I'm gonna, this is a lot of blue on here, so let's see what happens. I'm just playing around, moving that color around. I want it to be on the very edge. And because that's already wet, it's just going where it wants to go. And that's kind of neat. I really like that about watercolor, that you don't control things all the way, and that it just like flows into places that you didn't expect it to flow into, that you didn't plan on flowing into, but it just does it. So I'm just dropping down some watercolor over here, and it's just going to flow in ways that it wants to flow. I'm actually going to get more of this blue so that it can flow more. And maybe I need more blue at the bottom since it's supposed to be darker at the bottom. Ooh, that's really dark, but I dig it. I like it. Okay, so now I'm going to go and get some more dark green. It's best to go from light to dark. So I started out with a really light color and I layered on top of that. And now I'm getting some green. And it's going to layer with the blue. That's a lot of pigment. And this little texture is really cool. It's a tree, so I like it because it looks like a tree texture. This is creating a puddle right here because the paper is kind of going down right there, and you might not like that, but that's how watercolor paper goes. Really expensive watercolor paper comes on a pad where it's glued on all the sides. Like when you're done, you unglue the sides to take the paper off, so it's stretched kind of. It's kind of neat, but we don't get that in elementary school. Maybe you get that in high school. Okay, down here there is no water right here, so I'm gonna just frame this out as having a little bit more of a shadow down there. Okay, I like that. Okay, so that could be my first tree, or I could add more. You could play with it as much as you want. I'm gonna add a little bit more green because the middle isn't quite as green as I'd like it to be. And it can just flow into the places it wants to flow. This is a kind of a cool time to just like play. You're just playing with your paints. And notice my paints are not pristine. I did not pick a pristine paint set. I don't have a pristine paint set anymore. So this is what I've got. I'm going to go into the yellow and get some over here. Mixing with that green, going into the yellow, mixing with the green. And we're just playing around. Okay, so if you want to see a tree that, oh, I got to do the stump. So let me go ahead and do that here. And I touched that when that was still wet, so this is now pouring into there, and that happens. I mean, I'm not going to worry about it too much. So I'm going to get a darker pigment of brown now and go on this side so that I am using that. Okay, so now this tree, I'm going to go ahead and do like with dark first. So this is the dark green, and I'm not going to use blue, I'm not going to use yellow on this one. I'm just going to use green. So I'm using the green here, going all the way down. This is wet on dry. I did not wet the paper first, but I'm putting down a pretty solid green pigment on that side all the way up. Okay, so let's get some more green on there. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wash my brush completely off, and I'm going to come over here And I went over the line a little bit. Maybe I want my detail brush even on this tree. So I'm coming over here. I'm reactivating the watercolor with my water. So as I cross the line, like right here, it's not reactivated. Right here, I'm crossing the line into there and reactivating it. And it's creating a lighter, a little pastel, a little green pastel, and it's blending it. See how it just, like this is almost dry right here, but it's not quite dry. So I can go back over here and reactivate it and blend things up. So I'm doing the same thing. I'm going in with more water, coming in on this side, reactivating. And so there's not that harsh line anymore. It's blended. Look at that. I kind of dig how that's going. Maybe I want a little bit of green in there and see what happens. Like, I love that things just happen. And trees are textured. So if you want textures all over the place, you can just drop paint wherever you want to drop it. And if it's really dark over on this side, that's fine, because that's the shaded side. I already said my light source is over here. So this is the shaded side over here. Gonna get more darkness. And it gives it a texture that I really, really like. Oh, look at that. Look at what's happening. Look at what's happening even up here. That's so gorgeous. But I do think that this is too light right now. So I'm gonna get some more of the pigment out of my brush. I'm gonna wash it. And then I'm going to drag some of that pigment. Maybe I'll just take some pigment. Let's see, that's really dark. Okay, let me get some pigment up here. Okay, that's better. And I'm going to drag some of that pigment over to this side so that it looks like it's green over here. Because right now it's reading pretty clear. It's not quite clear. It's like a very soft pastel. Oop, that's one of my eraser marks. I'm going to have to take that out later. And I want to make sure this is nice and blended. So no strict lines over there. And that's pretty good. So you definitely don't want to use both techniques. You definitely want to pick one. Either use the color and use a lot of water in it for the light side and a lot of paint in it for the dark side, or you want to use the pigment and then use the lighter color and the darker color. I like this better because it's more like fantasy, it's more like crazy, but this is more realistic for sure. So whatever kind you like to do, you have to keep it the same light source. So if you decide your light source is over here, it's going to be over here for all of your trees. So that means when you're over here, it's going to be the right side of the tree that's light, it's going to be the left side of the tree that's dark. I hope that makes sense. So you're not doing like yellow on the outside and blue on the inside for every one of them. It's always going to be yellow on the right and blue on the left. So yellow on the right, blue on the left. Okay, I hope this helps you. We are beginning to paint our trees today, and that's pretty much it. Okay, good luck. Okay, we're going to take a little tour of the cart. When you are done, you are going to put your paints away over here. You're going to leave them open for the next class so that they have a chance to dry. So if you could leave them open over here, that would be great. You're going to put your project over on this side of the cart. There will probably be a folder for your class to put it in. We are just piling them on top of each other so they dry pretty quickly. These are where the water cups are. When you get a water cup, you fill it halfway. When you are putting your water cup away, you can toss out the water in the sink of your classroom, and then it goes in this water cup bin. I will wash it later. This is where the brushes are. So this is a normal size brush. These are detail brushes. There are two different kinds. One is a round detail brush. Oh, it's not focusing. Okay. One is a round detail brush and one is a flat detail brush. So they are great for different uses. These brushes right here are bashy brushes. So if you bash your brush down and do not use a brush like it's on its tippy toes, like it's a ballerina on her tippy toes, just having the top of the brush on your paper. If you bash it down like this, then I will exchange your brush for a bashy brush. Or some kids in 2nd grade have found that they like using bashy brushes, that they like making marks with them. So you can do that too. These are the bashy brushes that you can do that with. Once you are done with your brush, let's say you have a regular brush and you have a detail brush, you're going to come over here, and right here I have the dirty brush bin. You are going to put these brush side down in their dirty brush bin. There's already water in there. Do you see the water? So they pretty much clean themselves when the water is in there, so with watercolor paint. So that is a tour of the cart. That is how you put your stuff away.